Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Richards, and on behalf of our group, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Our group is looking forward to discussing an exciting training program and initiative that could significantly improve how we work together as an organization. On behalf of Chantal, Lauren, Sandra, Kaylin, Wendy, and myself, we'd like to welcome you to our multicultural training on microaggressions. This multicultural training program is designed to equip employees and organizations with the awareness, skills, and tools needed to navigate cultural differences with confidence and effectiveness. This is not a generic one-size-fits-all training. It's been tailored, and it's an interactive experience that focuses on the realities of an organization. Participants will engage in practical learning modules covering areas such as intercultural competence, social identity theory, experimental learning theory, and implicit bias and microaggressions to adapt leadership styles for global collaboration. Through scenario-based exercises and reflective discussions, employees and organizations alike will walk away with actionable strategies they can apply immediately in their day-to-day work. And as Bennett states, this self-awareness of who we are is culturally a prerequisite for the development of intercultural sensitivity. So what do we hope to gain from this training? We'll look to define microaggressions. We'll discuss techniques to recognize them, cover how personal bias may show itself, provide resources to respond, demonstrate how a culture of inclusivity has benefits to an organization, and finally, commit to organizational awareness by offering follow-up support. With that said, let's take a closer look at what this training plan offers and how we can support your strategic goals.
Let's take a moment to define what microaggressions are. Microaggressions are brief and often unintentional comments or behaviors that communicate bias or send a dismissive message to someone based on their identity. They're usually subtle, but they add up over time and can affect how someone feels in the workplace. Examples include verbal comments like assuming someone isn't qualified or sarcastic remarks that undermine their ability. They can also show up as dismissive reactions, such as ignoring someone's input during a meeting or overlooking a person's experience because of assumptions about their background. And sometimes they take the form of stereotyping, like expressing surprise that someone is skilled or knowledgeable because they don't fit a preconceived expectation. These small interactions may seem minor to the person saying them, but they can have a real impact on belonging, confidence, and trust at work. Now let's take a look at the 4 theories that guided the way we designed our training. The first is intercultural competence, which is based on the work of Bennett. The second theory is the social identity theory, informed by Beard's writing on how identity shapes experiences in the workplace. The next is the implicit bias and microaggression theory, grounded in the research of Sue and colleagues. And the final is the experiential learning theory, supported by Leclerc and Sully de Lecoeur through their work on cross-cultural training methods. These 4 theories provided the research foundation for how we approach the structure and direction of this training program. Now let's briefly explore why these 4 theories matter for the goals of our training. The intercultural competence theory helped us recognize that people often interpret situations through their own cultural background. This guided us towards activities that helped participants step back and see how perspective shapes communication and reactions. The social identity theory highlighted the role that group membership plays in shaping workplace experiences. It reminded us that people can feel included or excluded based on how they see themselves within their organization, and this helped us address issues of visibility, belonging, and team dynamics. The implicit bias and microaggression theory showed us how unintentional comments or behaviors can still have a strong impact over time. This theory forms the core of our training content because it explains why microaggressions matter and why awareness alone is not always enough. And finally, The experiential learning theory guided the way we designed this workshop. Adults learn cultural skills best when they have opportunities to practice, reflect, and work through real-world examples rather than just listening to information. This is why our training includes scenarios, small group work, and guided reflection. Together, these theories helped us create a training program that is practical, meaningful, and grounded in how people actually learn and interact at work.
This training is especially valuable for multicultural and global teams, where communication norms and expectations can differ. Bennett shows that building cultural self-awareness helps prevent misunderstandings and strengthens collaboration. It also supports organizations where employees hold multiple intersecting identities that shape how they're treated at work. Improving belonging means reducing pressures like identity covering and making sure people feel recognized and respected. In remote and hybrid teams, fewer nonverbal cues mean microaggressions can occur more easily, even without intent, but they can still cause harm. And leaders, HR, and customer-facing staff strongly influence workplace climate. Providing these groups with tools improves equity, trust, and communication. Ultimately, this training is best suited for organizations committed to psychological safety and inclusion, reducing subtle bias. In this workshop, we build a shared understanding of culture, identity, worldview, and microaggressions, so everyone is aligned. We incorporate authentic workplace scenarios to recognize subtle microaggressions. Small group discussions help participants practice communication skills and hear multiple perspectives. And guided reflection strengthens awareness of personal assumptions and bias. Throughout the session, facilitators tie learning to the organization's inclusion goals, ensuring the work supports meaningful change. By the end, participants leave with practical strategies they can use immediately. This workshop uses an interactive format grounded in adult learning principles, so participants are actively engaged rather than passively listening. It includes experiential activities that allow employees to practice cultural communication skills in real time. We draw on an intercultural competence framework to help participants explore different worldviews and communication styles. The training emphasizes psychological safety in order for people to feel comfortable speaking openly and learning together. Here's how the session flows. We start with introductions and group norms to build trust. Then we review the key concepts before moving into scenario-based exercises. Participants take time for guided reflection, and we bring the group together for a shared discussion to connect perspectives and insights. The training ends with practical communication strategies and a personal action plan. This is ensuring everyone lives with skills they can use immediately to prevent and address microaggressions effectively. The structure supports engagement, insight, and true skill development, which is necessary for meaningful and lasting DEI growth.
Now that we know what the training will consist of, it is time to discuss where the training should be held. The location of your training will depend on the needs of your organization. Virtual trainings provide an easy and convenient avenue for employees to access globally. They save time and money that could have been spent on travel and venue costs, which could be allocated to another project. Finally, virtual trainings can be recorded and replayed, which can be helpful for those who are not present. On the negative side, virtual trainings can make it hard for participants to be engaged and focused. They require technology that often has difficulties, and they offer less personal connection in a trust-building exercise like the ones included in this training. In-person trainings create a space for richer communication and relationship building, which deepens the rapport and trust among participants. They also offer the opportunity of immediate feedback, which can be beneficial for participants to properly learn the concepts. In-person trainings also have some cons. Oftentimes, they are difficult to coordinate, require travel, and offer limited scalability as large groups can be hard to manage effectively in a physical setting. So, what materials are required for this training? Dr. Loiakono suggests the following materials for microaggression training. The training facilitator should be provided with PowerPoint slides with speaker notes, as well as a training manual. The training manual should include instructions for how to run each activity. In addition, facilitators should be provided with a pre-course guide to provide tips on how to make the training go smoothly. They should also have a sign-in sheet to account for the participants of the training. Employees should also be provided with the same PowerPoint slides, minus the speaker notes. This is so they can revisit the content as needed. During the training, employees should be provided with a workbook and activity handouts to remain engaged. Once the training is finished, employees should be given a completion certificate and a feedback form to measure the efficacy of the training.
Next, we will have 2 activities that will help us look a little deeper at what microaggressions look like in the workplace and in our personal lives. The first activity is called, "Is this a microaggression?" I'm going to read a couple of scenarios. Please write down whether you think the scenario represents a microaggression or not. After we have finished, I will give you the answers and explain each scenario further. Let's begin. Scenario 1. Your English is so good. Where are your parents from? Scenario 2. I didn't realize you were Jewish. You don't look Jewish. Scenario 3. I believe the most qualified person should get the job. And scenario 4. How did you get into that school? Now let's take a look at the answers. Scenario 1 is a microaggression. The statement signals that people with English as a second language are generally less capable of speaking English well. Scenario 2 is also a microaggression. The statement signals that a person of the Jewish heritage has a stereotypical look, and of course, similar statements happen to people from many backgrounds. Scenario 3. This is an example of a microaggression as well. This can be a tough one to identify at times. The statement signals that someone is being given an unfair advantage. And finally, scenario 4. This is also an example of a microaggression. The statement can be signaling that someone's background makes them an anomaly at a prestigious school. Our second activity is a personal reflection activity. You do not need to write anything down, and we will not be calling on anyone for answers for this one. We want you to think about your answers. We hope that this activity will help you think about your examples of microaggressions in your own lives. Question 1. Reflect on a time you personally experienced multicultural microaggression. It could be either said directly to you or something you overheard. How did you feel and how did you respond? Question 2. Reflect on a time you presented a multicultural microaggression to someone else.
Our evaluation plan is designed to measure how effectively the training meets its learning objectives, recognizing microaggressions, increasing cultural awareness, and building inclusive communication skills. We begin with a pre-training assessment where participants complete a baseline survey measuring their understanding of microaggressions, their awareness of personal biases, and their comfort interacting across cultural differences. This gives us a clear starting point to compare growth. During the workshop, we use real-time evaluation tools such as reflection prompts, short polls, and facilitator observation during small group scenario discussions. These activities help us see whether participants can identify subtle or overt microaggressions and whether they are engaging critically with the material. After the training, we conduct a post-assessment, which includes a follow-up survey and a brief scenario analysis. This allows participants to demonstrate the communication strategies and inclusive responses introduced in the workshop. Comparing pre- and post data helps us measure learning gains. We also incorporate a 30 to 60 day behavioral follow-up to evaluate whether participants are applying the skills in real workplace interactions. Leaders or managers may also provide insight into changes in team communication or climate. At a broader level, we track organizational indicators such as psychological safety, communication effectiveness, and reductions in report microaggressions. These metrics show whether the training supports the organization's long-term inclusion goals. Finally, all data, surveys, reflections, and feedback contribute to continuous improvement, ensuring the training remains relevant and effective. This training matters because today's workplaces are more culturally diverse and more hybrid than ever. With fewer nonverbal cues and different communication norms, misunderstandings can occur easily, and microaggressions, whether intentional or not, can significantly impact someone's sense of belonging. Employees increasingly expect inclusive environments where they feel respected, seen, and safe to contribute. Developing cultural awareness and the ability to recognize and address microaggressions is essential for meeting those expectations. For individuals, this training builds self-awareness, improves communication across differences, and gives them practical tools to respond effectively in challenging situations. For organizations, it strengthens collaboration, increases engagement, and contributes to a more inclusive, high-trust workplace culture. Ultimately, this training supports healthier interactions and helps create teams that are more connected, more culturally competent, and better equipped to work in today's global environment.